Good evening. I am your host, Samuel Ibrahim, and welcome to the Mind of the Prophet Meditation Hour Night Edition. What is today? Today is February the 23rd. This is my 28th episode since January the 29th. I'm excited about the pace that I'm on. I really love doing the podcast. I love the creativity it brings. I sit in meditation most of the day, along with the work that I do. And when I get a good thought, I share it. And I'm listening to Earl Nightingale give a synopsis of Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. And many folks know who Napoleon Hill is. Amazing, talented author. So many great things that I could say about him. He's made plenty of millionaires. He's made a lot of people money. Great techniques, great everything in his books. Okay. His favorite book of mine is that I've read is The 13 Laws of Success. And that book was released somewhere in the 1920s. And it's a thick book. It's thick and profound. Profound book. Napoleon Hill was so far into metaphysics at that time, and the way that he talks about it, it sounds like metaphysics or the understanding of the metaphysical was common. It was commonplace among the people that had amassed great fortunes. They understood metaphysical principles and the way that they worked, and they exercised them intentionally, expecting a result because of their actions. And these were things that were taught by many people at the time, Emerson being one of them, who greatly influenced Napoleon Hill. Also Andrew Carnegie, who of course influenced Napoleon Hill. In Napoleon Hill's book, The 13 Laws of Success, he gives the suggestion to create an imaginary board of directors. And these can be with people that are living or dead. The point of the exercise, though, is to imagine them. Don't engage an actual board of directors around you to solicit opinions. You don't want that. Well, you do at some point in time. But for this particular exercise, you don't want to call in people to the room to share your ideas with and feedback. Okay, not physical people. What you do want to do, however, on your imaginary board of directors is to imagine them around a table. Identify who they are first. Let's go in order. Identify who they are. Who's on your board of directors? So Napoleon Hill said that he, used to imagine Abraham Lincoln on his board of directors, walking stately, giving stately advice, firm advice, resolute advice based off of how he esteemed the late president and others. And so I'm just giving you an example. So he would imagine these people on his board of directors. He would imagine how they would receive his idea, how they would respond, the type of conversations that they would have, where they were. In his book, he talks about, being in a boardroom with I think maybe like a wood table or an oak table, people sitting around it, and they're having a conversation, like a real conversation. But all of this is going on in Napoleon Hill's mind before he retires to sleep. Most of the time is what the book says. But these conversations are happening in Napoleon Hill's mind. He imagined these men at a table giving him sound advice that he could accept and his subconscious could accept. And he played out this drama as often as he needed to. It's a great concept in thought and in action. In action, I'll explain first, then I'll tell you why it's a great concept in thought, and then we'll expand upon that into another great metaphysical person, Neville Goddard. So in action, having an imaginary board of directors does many things. Number one, it makes you use your imagination. I don't know what it is about the time we live in, But imagination is sorely lacking in innovation, in education, and the way many people conduct their affairs. We have so much information available to us that I believe it is starting to tell people how to think instead of people thinking and creating independent ideas and opinions or revolutionary ideas that can cause or spark a profound change in humanity, because everything is filtered through somebody else's lens instead of people creating the lens for people to read from. All right. So number one, your imagination is sparked. It's an easy way to do it, and you can build upon this, right? So number one is your imagination now has to think of the people, why you want those people, and then what type of conversations are you going to have around your table. Okay. Now that leads into the second part. You have the conversation. You have the imaginary conversation with your board members, and now you are discussing your goals. You are discussing your plan. You are discussing your idea. You are discussing ways to get over opposition, ways to get over obstacles, ways to make it better, good ways. I mean, you're just talking about good ways to properly implement, good ways to activate, good ways to motivate yourself. It's your board of directors. They're there to be your cheerleaders, not only to be your cheerleaders, but to give you sound counsel. And so when you do that, you will be surprised how easily you can have that imaginary conversation in your mind. Who's on my board of directors? I started this practice when did I start this practice? I guess late 2019, early 2020 is when I started the practice. Probably had read the book by then. But I firmly started the practice around that time, and I'll tell you who's around mine. So Bill Belichick, the guy's a winner. He's into the details. He's into the weeds. Napoleon Hill was definitely on mine. Why? Because of all the great work that he's done, and he opened my eyes to the very practical application of metaphysical concepts in business, and why you see some things work, why you see some people be successful, and the otherwise, why you see things don't work, why you see people be unsuccessful. So I would have him on my board. I had a few other people. I'm not going to tell you all my secrets, but I'll give you those too, right? And I would have real conversations. And I found myself, as I had those conversations or I came across certain challenges in what I was attempting to do, attempting to build, when I needed to bounce ideas off of someone, my board of directors came through beautifully. Belichick definitely came through because the guy's into the X's and O's. And when I needed to get out of the weeds, I called in Phil Jackson, because Phil Jackson knows how to motivate players to get the best out of them. Excuse me. Even though he had a system that they had to follow, which, he was still a Zen master. They called him the Zen master for a reason. So when I needed more Zen, I called in Phil Jackson to help me out, to bring some Zen to it. And then I didn't invite Belichick to the next meeting because I needed to get out of the X's and O's, and I didn't want to run off my Tom Brady. All right. So I use my board of directors like it's a functional group of people, period. I do that. And it's helped me tremendously. Now, it allows me to flesh my ideas out. It allows me to think of ways to implement my ideas. And I feel like I get sound advice from these coaches. Even if I'm slacking, in the back of my mind, I can still hear Belichick saying, do your job. Or sometimes I might call in Mike Tomlin, where he says the standard is a standard. Like, these are all mantras that I play in my head if I don't feel myself living up to the expectations of the people that I've invited to my board. So they keep me honest in my performance. And it's a beautiful concept when you really embrace it. Now, what does this also do? Thirdly, and beautifully, I'm going to transition here to the metaphysical, because I could talk about business all day. I enjoy metaphysics. I am actively practicing how to weave all of the wonderful things that I like to discuss into one fluid conversation, so I don't have to always change the topic. To be able to host a podcast, to have social conversations, or just in my general business and my consultancy. The third part that I love very much about this principle is the metaphysical part of it. What is the metaphysical part? So let's get metaphysical. And Neville Goddard, who's a great mystic, praying man from the, he was very popular in the United States and Barbados, is where he's from, in the mid 20th century. I don't know when he passed, I think around the 70s. But Neville Goddard is very big on imagination, and how he would explain it and how I understand it. I might take it a little bit further than he did. But what Neville Goddard says basically is whatever you create in imagination, the more that you're able to hold that image in imagination, you create that image in actual, human experience. And this is how I want to explain how I understand this principle, because I extend my vision beyond three-dimensional when my senses are able to touch. What you think about happens. Okay? So I'm gonna belabor this point just a little so I can explain it in detail about point number 3 and what happens in imagination metaphysically. Okay? The moments that you imagine have occurred in your life, for the most part. And if you take time to recognize their occurrence, you'll see that it's true. So one very easy way to identify how imagination can create reality and does create reality is, on your way to work, how many arguments in your head do you have with your boss or a team member or whoever if you don't like them? On your way to a meeting, on your way to, anything, let's just talk about your professional life, right? If you have somebody that you work with that you have an adverse relationship with, you dread going to those meetings. You dread those phone calls. You might even dread going into the office. And then what do you do on your way to those events? You imagine them being negative events. And then when you get to the office, how many times are they actually like some form of the negative event that you imagined? Here's another example. If you're having a disagreement with your spouse or a family member, and you have to be around that family member, how many arguments do you have in your head with that family member that have not occurred yet? Like you're practicing the argument in your mind, right? And then when the argument comes, you got all your zingers and one-liners going, but guess what? Your mind helped create the situation because you imagined it. Why does that happen? I'll tell you why. I will tell you why, and I'm excited to say why. Just imagine, not imagine. Excuse me, I apologize so much for coughing. When you take your mind into imagination, now you should just think that you're taking your mind into a realm of time and dimension of time that is yet to occur. All right? Is yet to occur. And if you can sit in imagination and imagine something positive happening, a good event, and you emotionally touch the event, or even if you imagine something bad and you emotionally touch the event to where now you have released and radiated some type of emotional signal, pulse into creation with that image in your mind at some future point in time, what creation sees is, wow, look at the signal coming from this person. And what creation will do is help that signal reach its destination and form into hard matter. A great way to think about this, as you've seen in movies or, TV, think about Star Trek, right? Those guys got on the platform and then their bodies would, disappear, and then they would kind of recollect at wherever their destination was. Think of your imagination the same way. So think that if you're imagining a future scenario, you're basically stepping on that Star Trek, beam me down platform. All right. And then it beams you down to it. That's what happens in imagination. I've described this many different ways. I call it that you're creating a ripple in time, a subconscious ripple in time that you will walk to. When your subconscious mind and your emotions touch, let me pause there because I want to say this point, and then I'm going to get back to why this is a good thing and what Napoleon Hill was talking about. This is why it happens this way, because there's a scientific reason, I believe, but let's keep this metaphysical, because It helps you to understand and see the picture better. One thing that you must understand about your mind, all right? If you imagine yourself in a moment and you emotionally touch that imagined moment, your mind does not know that it is not in two different places. All right? Even though you could be at home on your couch listening to me right now, or in your car listening to me, or wherever you are, right? You're somewhere stationary. You're listening. And when you get through listening to me, you're going to imagine something. And your mind is still physically wherever you are. When you imagine a future moment, okay, now your mind is also in that future moment, especially if it brings out an emotion. Your mind has touched that imagined point with feeling, and now because your mind has felt it, your body wants to also touch it. Your feet want to touch it. Your eyes want to actually see it. Your hands want to grab hold to it. That's what your subconscious mind does for you. Once you feel those imagined moments in time, your subconscious mind will walk you straight to them. I'll tell you how people do it all the time, and I just gave this example. When you imagine a future scenario that you don't want, basically you walk right into it. I'll tell you another way people do it. If you are one that likes to rehash your past, if your present still looks like your past, is because you talk about it too much. What you're telling creation and also what you're imagining is your past remaining in your present. And so guess what? Because you have emotionally slingshotted, is that a word? Emotionally, you slingshot your past into your present, and then creation is just going to keep building that same emotional structure around you because you keep touching those imagined moments in time that have not happened. That's why it's so much better to remain in the present moment. Keep your mental and emotional energy present with you. That way it's not drifting to times that you don't want to experience. So why does this work? Why is this a good idea about imagining your board of directors and how it can help your imagination? Because when you're with your board of directors, you're talking about your ideas. You're talking about your ideas' functionality. You're talking about how it looks, how it feels, its usability. How is it going to feel to the consumer? How do I market this? What is my target audience? What should my copy look like? What should the website look like? Who should I get to be on board? Who should be a part of my mastermind? All of these conversations are taking place in your imagination, and the ones that you feel, they harden into form. They harden into matter. It happens, I want to say 100% of the time, but I'm just cautious about saying that because, I let creation do what creation is going to do. I will just say that in my experience, I have not seen this principle fail. Imagine a good moment. Imagine yourself talking around your board of directors about your ideas. They will help you shape your ideas. And then your ideas go from your imagination with your board of directors to concrete plans that you are now executing. And then you go back to your board and say, hey, I've done this part of execution. What should we do next? How do you think this works? This was successful. This wasn't. Why wasn't this successful? And then you talk those things out with your imagined board of directors. And the answers you receive from them are more intuitive than what you will, it's actually, I don't want to say mind blowing, surprising. It's surprising the type of feedback you will get when you do that. And even more so when you choose historical figures that you have great affinity for, you begin to learn more about those folks, believe it or not. It's just something about you and them that, were already drawn to each other because you invited them to your board. Now you will start to understand why you wanted them on your board. And, I won't say the last part. So give that principle a try. And if you're unaware of, what Napoleon Hill says about your imagined board of directors, it's in the book, The Law of Success. Eventually, I will get to discussing a lot of those principles. His teachings have really guided how I've conducted my business affairs. They are tried and true. They work. And the reason why they work is because they are rooted in metaphysical concepts and metaphysical cause and effect action. If you do X, Y should be the result. That's basically what his book is, his books are, and why they are so successful. And when you engage your imagination, now your imagination becomes your friend. And when you get your imagination to become your friend and you're imagining these scenarios that have not happened, creation also becomes your partner. And they're on your board because they're helping you to facilitate and bring these plans into form. It works. I know it works because I've seen it work. I've been doing this consistently for 2 years and it has helped me tremendously. So I want to share that with the audience that's listening. Tap into your imagination. If you're about to start a business, don't just start the business to make money. Set a goal. You must have a goal. Why? Because you need to guide your eyes. You need to guide your subconscious mind. If you don't have a goal, your subconscious mind will not know where to focus. So don't just say, I want to start a business, not sell a certain product or a certain good. What is your destination? How much money do you want to make by what certain amount of time? Who is your target audience? What is your market? Put down as many specific things as you can. Why? Because, write the vision, make it plain. Creation helps you out. Creation knows now what it is that you want because you committed it to paper, right? You committed it to paper. You might as well have just chiseled it in stone because creation is gonna work with you to get you those things. Now, when you have your board of directors involved, get them engaged, right? If you set your goal and you want help getting it, engage them, and you will be surprised the type of feedback you get. Now, if you do not have a mastermind or people that you can go to with your ideas, you can always go to your Imagine board. And believe it or not, your board will guide you to the folks that can be on your mastermind. It works that way. It's a great concept for folks that will actively try it. And I don't know why this course lost its popularity, because it certainly is a successful teaching that is still, I think, very much relevant to this time. The metaphysical principles are going to work no matter the time. No matter the time, the metaphysical principles are going to work. Those are just the laws of nature, and they have to. And that book really dives into, it really explains really well metaphysical concepts that you just don't hear those things taught, spoken, but they're true. They happen. And using your imagination to engage a board of directors to help you with your ideas is fruitful. It produces good fruit. All right. So I wanted to leave you guys with that. I hope that made sense. Just to recap, use your imagination. Create an imaginary board of directors. Put some people on it. Ask them for their help. Have real conversations with these people. It's best to do this at night before you go to bed. Take it into your sleep. Okay? And when you wake up, your subconscious mind will have better direction to guide your eyes and your feet based off of your imaginary conversations. But guess what? Those imaginary conversations will become real conversations that you're going to have with real people who are going to be your real customers, who are going to be real fans of your products, who are going to be real fans of your service, who are going to be real fans of you going the extra mile for them, who are going to be real fans of your creativity, who are going to be real fans of your professionalism. Like, the principle just works. And because you're spending time in an imagined dimension talking about your ideas, viability, and success, you are guiding creation towards the creation of that success, the formation of the success, the engineering of the success, and you actually living and walking in that experience. You take it out of your imagination and it becomes real life. Carry the practice forward. Metaphysically is such a sound practice, not only because it releases your mind to be imaginative and creative, but also it assists in its manifestation. You are doing something in a metaphysical realm and imagination that creation now is obligated to help you fulfill. whether it's good or bad karma associated with it. I'll say that part, but you don't want bad karma slingshot into your ideas. Okay, you want only good karma. Okay, because you don't want to reap, you don't want to sow and reap bad things. Your board of directors can help you stay on track. It can help your ideas burst forward into life. And once you understand this principle and you apply it, you can accelerate its application and its results. Okay, tried and true. If you guys are interested in the Law of Success book, the version that I listened to, I have a hard copy, but I actually listened to it on Audible. The narrator's great. I don't remember his name, but he's great. I don't know if it's Napoleon Hill himself. I doubt it. Okay, but it's a guy that sounds like he was from Napoleon Hill's time, and it's a good book. It's good. It's long, but it's a good book. And if you're going into business, you're selling any product, it's worth listening to for sure. All right, guys. I don't have much else. I wanted to share that because I have not consulted my board in quite some time, and tonight I believe I shall consult them for many of the great projects that we are working on here. And I'm excited to actually talk to them and share with them all the new things that we're doing so I can get some clarity on direction, and I can bounce ideas off of, brilliant minds who get into the details and they're innovative. I like to talk to people that were able to see past what was in front of them into their vision, into a different dimension of what their vision is, and they see they see the world differently. It's like they have a fourth dimension all their own, which everyone has. Whatever your genius is, it's like you see into a fourth dimension of nature that only you understand, or you understand better than most. And because you can see into that fourth dimension of whatever metaphysical nature thing is, your ability to communicate that and bring that concept to the third dimension for other people to see is why people get to be called geniuses. All right. Those are your hyper successful people that can take their vision from not just imagination. It's like their eyes are open and they can see straight through to the vision no matter what's going on around them. These are the people that can be in a burning building and still know that they're going to walk out safely, and they don't run out. They walk out because their vision is holding them in place. Okay. So these are good tools to use. These are great subconscious muscle builders. These are great metaphysical tools to understand how you can get creation to work and enlist creation. I don't want to say get creation. You can enlist creation. You can engage creation to work with you, be your partner, to help you take your ideas from merely ideas to visions that become form, that become matter, that become products that you can sell, that become services that you can sell, that becomes lives you can change. All right, guys, this is it for me tonight. I am Samuel Ibrahim. Just talking way too fast. I am Samuel Ibrahim, your host of the Mind of the Prophet Meditation Hour. Samuel Ibrahim signing off.